Have you ever thought just how boring or ridiculous news commentary is today? Welcome to the RealJax podcast with Jim and Larry. The RealJax podcast. From crime and politics to entertainment, you can expect something different. Now, let's get real, Jax.
RealJax with Jim and Larry is brought to you by
Extreme Wings, 4 convenient locations, family sports restaurant and grill, more than just wings. Tremendous Barbecue, open since 2007, 8927 Hurlong Road, open 11 to 8, Tuesday through Saturday, and Sunday 11 to 3. Full barbecue menu, everything homemade, they cater anything, and they love first responders. Advanced Window Tint, 5024 Sunbeam Road, over 26 years experience. 3M Platinum Dealer, highest level of 3M dealer around. They tint vehicles, homes, and businesses. Secure One Protection Services, number one choice for protection since 1986. 356-1111. D-Way Towing, 100 South Jackson Avenue. Phone number is 904-356-3929. They take care of all your towing needs. See our friend Doug Dixon. Wild West Guns and Gold, family owned and operated for over 30 years. Stop in and visit them and their professional staff for all your hunting and shooting sports equipment. They have great customer service with competitive prices. Remember, Wild West Guns and Gold, our friends at Wild West. Vic Gibran, he's a good friend and great business owner and looks out for folks on the west side. They're on Lane Avenue. Go see him. Norman Brewer for Jacksonville District 11 City Council. We need fighters that will truly represent us on the city council. Norman Brewer is that guy. He's a constitutional conservative, former law enforcement officer, successful businessman. Norm will call it like he sees it, and you will have no better advocate on the council. Welcome to RealJax with
you got to do the 3, 2, 1.
Oh, do I really have to do that?
Yeah.
Now let's put this part in the episode where you're telling me to do that. And I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
So it's Jim, Larry, and Crawfish, but Jim's not here. He's moving right now. He's got a bunch of stuff going on. So today's special guest is Gary Spurgeon.
Hey.
And Gary's kind of the guy that got us started. So one of the things that happened is I haven't had him on. I should have him and Shannon on, but one of my best friends has ALS, Jimmy Judge, and Bill Gates is a friend of mine who runs a show on Saturday on the radio called the Jacksonville Home Show. So he asked me to come over here to talk about an event, and I had been talking to Jim about podcasting and you, and for about a year, just kind of in the early stages of planning. And we came over here, and I said, "Man, this is the place I found online." And he introduced me to Gary, and then the rest is history.
Yeah, that's right. It's been about over a year now. Year plus.
Yeah. Well, no, it hadn't been a year.
Hasn't it?
We started in June.
First episode was June 23rd.
Well, he'd been talking before that.
Right, and we were on Bill's show.
Yeah,
Bill's show.
Yep.
Prior to that.
April.
Yeah. Talking about Jimmy.
It has been over a year. So I knew nothing about this process. I don't know that Zach knew a lot, and Jim knew nothing as well. So this is the guy that kind of that basically built everything and taught us everything that we need to know. Of course, me and Jim still don't know anything. Zach does all that. We ask dumb questions all the time, but Zach runs the back of the house productions and analytics and all that kind of stuff. So Gary's got an interesting story to me, just how he got started in radio, and I just kind of wanted to get where you started and how you ended up here.
Yeah, it's actually, I'm going to date myself now, but I started in broadcast radio. I got my start in broadcast radio. So I just fell into the business at a very young age. Actually, my freshman year of college, I needed, college year, what am I going to do for a living, right?
Right.
So I went back up north. I went to the University of Miami my first semester, went back up north, and I said, I got to pick a major, just like everybody does. And then one thing led to another. I said, pick communications business. And so I went to the communications department, and I'm literally walking downstairs from the communications department after meeting with the department head. And on the wall said, "Hey, local radio stations looking for an overnight person to push buttons at a top 40 radio stations." Well, heck, you're 18 years old, and you're going to work at a top 40 radio station. And back then, now I'm going to date myself, 1979. That's a long time, right? But that was hot radio stations to work at. So number one radio station, started pushing buttons, wasn't allowed to talk. And then one thing led to another. I wanted to get on the radio, and that happened. I ended up being on the radio with another radio station for about 5 years as an announcer, and I put myself through college. as a radio announcer.
Really?
So I kind of fell in love with the business. But that being said, how I got here with podcasting and what this thing's all about, as my career went, one thing led to another. And I was in broadcast for actually spent 42 years in the radio industry.
Wow.
And at a very ripe old age of 26, I got my first general manager and president job of a radio group. And I was the youngest general manager in the United States at the time.
Really?
Yep, and I never looked back. And after that, I was either general manager, regional vice president, regional president for the remaining 36, 37 years I was doing the business. So, and I was blessed. One thing led to another, and when you start in a small market like I did, and one thing led to another, and I got recruited here in Jacksonville in 2004 by the Cox Radio Group.
Okay.
So I ran the Cox Radio Group here in Jacksonville as well as the Renda Group here in Jacksonville. So primarily, I've run about 80% of the radio stations here in Jacksonville. I was instrumental, and actually I put on the Eagle here in Jacksonville.
Really?
I was instrumental in putting on Gator Country as well, 99.9 Gator Country. So I've got some legacy here in Jacksonville, which is always will remain a special part of my Jacksonville. Then I got recruited to Dallas and Houston, Texas with a pretty big group. So I love the business, but, I was tired of all the corporate stuff, being in public companies and all that fun, crazy stuff.
Right.
So I'm going to semi-retire, as I tell people. And I said, I was really a big podcast listener. And one thing I noticed about podcasting, though, is, and this was a couple of years back, and it still is, there's really great podcasts out there, a lot of really great ones, but some are such poor quality that I can't even stand to listen to them because it's just like I'm scratching on a chalkboard for me.
Right.
And so that's what inspired me to open up a podcast studio. I'm saying, look, nobody's doing it here in Jacksonville, number one. Let me take my background in broadcasting and bring it to a podcast studio, that concept. And basically that's what we do. We help everybody through the entire process of podcasting, and that's where Studio Podcast Suites came into existence. It started as a one little place and, across the street here in a 12 by 12 room, and now we have 2 studios with full, video capabilities and everything. But even as early as yesterday, I had somebody in my studio, a new podcaster. It's so confusing on how to get a podcast up and going. What do you need to do? How do you need to do this? And I think I tell everybody the simplest thing we try to do here is you focus on your content. We let us do everything else for you.
Yeah.
So we can do as little or as much as folks want. But, as simple as what kind of microphone do I buy? What kind of board do I buy? How do I edit? How do I put all this stuff together? And how do I get my podcast out there in all these directories, Apple, Spotify, all this? It's such a confusing process. There's so many videos out there, and people now are starting to charge just to have conversations with people. I have to laugh. Some lady came in and said, I paid a guy like $50 just to have a conversation with him just to figure out how to do all this. And then he wanted to charge me more. So there's so much information. I think people are confused, and welcome to the internet, I guess. But there's a lot of great research out there. And I want people to have fun doing this. You guys have done a great job. And I always say this, I compliment you because I don't know how you do it, but you have some of the biggest numbers, and that's compliment to you guys, than anybody have as downloads. And sometimes we base everything on downloads, but there's more to this. But what's the reason you're having a podcast, But I want people to have a great experience when they come in here, have great equipment. I mean, you're not going to go out and buy one of these microphones. No. I mean, these are $700, $800 microphones. Yeah. So you got to understand what's the difference between a dynamic and a condenser microphone. Where are you broadcasting from or podcasting from? A little room in your house, in your living room. There's echo, there's all this. So we try to have a sound-controlled environment with all the bells and whistles and all that fun stuff there. So, that's basically what we do here. It's been a fun journey. I've been, it's almost 2.5 years now. Actually, over 2.5 years.
Really?
And I have a wonderful, wonderful clientele base. I can't complain, from businesses, guys like yourself. I have, Fortega, which is a giant business next door to here, with, I don't even know how many, 20, 30,000 employees, to, a guy comes in and does a hip hop podcast. We have such a wide variety and diverse clientele. I love it. I met some really interesting people in the process. So, that's how I got here, but I try to help. This is a journey, I tell people. This takes time. And you guys are a great example. I mean, if you go back to your first podcast, how you guys come along and how you manage your customers now and how do you manage your interviews? This is not easy, getting behind a microphone and doing this.
Not at first, no. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
There's technique to that. I mean, I work in the radio business. I worked in small, medium, and major market radio. Guys and women spend their entire careers doing this and talking on it. Everybody wants to be Joe Rogan.
Yeah,
I got to tell you that everybody comes in here. They all bring up Joe Rogan. I wish that we all could be Joe Rogan. Make those, 240 million or something like that?
Spotify or something. I know he sold one for like 100 million or something. Spotify.
That's crazy. I don't even know the numbers. It's so stupid.
That's kind of, I mean, we wanted something kind of a hybrid like that, but obviously locally related. And I couldn't ask for a better guide, from Buzzsprout. I found I saw a picture of me staring at this board, and I think you were talking at the time, and I looked like I was a million miles away. I was like, I am lost. I don't know what Gary's talking about. But from Buzzsprout, and we were explaining what that was and how that uploads to the directories and how you manage that, and then YouTube and the channels and the whole starter package. I mean, if anybody's out there looking for a podcast or want to start one, I think there's a couple people that I've sent that have started.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a journey.
Yeah, you won't find a better place in Jacksonville. I mean, you're right. They're well, even Joe Rogan started with like him and a buddy with a laptop on a couch.
It's crazy.
And then look what they got now. But this is the same kind of quality studio that they have.
And I think what people don't realize when they walk in, first, it's comfortable. It's professional, and I think people have never experienced that. I get the same response as I did when when you run a radio station. To us it's every day, right? But when you're meeting some of your the people that you've listened to your whole life, like in a local marketplace, like your Arthur Crofton over at WEJZ, or one of the guys, the grease man that used to be here on the Ape, and meet some of your legends like Steve Eden and Amadeus that worked here, and some of the big names in Jacksonville, Robbie Rose and all these folks. If you meet them, you get kind of impressed because they're celebrities, right? Yeah. But when you see that look on somebody's face, I used to tell all my receptionists, if somebody comes to the front desk, picks up a prize, and the first thing you ask them, would you like to do a tour of the radio station? Oh my gosh, I can? Yeah, sure. And I say, get a promotion person, call me, whatever, we'll walk them through. Yeah. And to walk them into a studio, first their eyes go, like they're like dishes, like, oh my gosh, I'm in, and then they're meeting the on-air announcer, and it's very exciting for them. But the same experience really happens here when they walk in. They go, wow, I wasn't expecting this. A quote from a guy last week came in. He said to me, I didn't expect this. I thought it was just going to be a card table with two microphones. That's an exact quote.
Fold-out table.
Right, but I wanted the experience, a real nice board, great sounding quality. I want people to leave here with a great product, and I think that's the most important thing, that nobody's going to be disappointed in the sound of the quality that comes out of here. And with my broadcasting background, I brought that to the table. And that's why a lot of people, when they come and they talk to me, hey, after they do their studio tour here, they're not only sold, but I think they realize, wow, there's a lot more to this than I expected, and he can help guide me through the process, and that's what I try to do for folks. My job to help is all I try to do.
Well, that's the key is you don't realize how daunting it is and how much more can go into a truly professional podcast and learning all that. And Zach being now the producer, director,
whatever.
What's your other titles? I don't even know.
I don't even know.
When you first came in, I'm going to ask you that question, Zach. When you guys first came in, what was your impressions of the whole thing? Just the idea of putting a podcast together when you first came in, some of the questions that you had.
I honestly didn't know what to expect. Because I listened to Rogan, I listened to these guys, but walking in the first time and sitting down and you going through everything was like drinking out of a fire hydrant. Mm-hmm. You're just kind of taking everything in. And, I honestly thought it was going to be a little bit harder to start, but once we got through the first 10 episodes, everything started kind of just flowing into a nice, easy thing. And now we just do it like it's an everyday thing.
You walk in, you hit the buttons, we set the recording, and we're rocking and rolling.
Yeah, everything's pretty simple once you take your time to learn it and understand it.
And I tell people this, I think that's one of the big questions I get. This is a journey, like I love going back and look at earlier episodes of you guys. It's not that you were just raw. And now you've got this whole persona about yourselves. You're all characters in your own right, and you rib each other, but you have a good time on your podcast, and that's one of the most important things. And you have a really diverse podcast. I mean, the people you've had in here have just been pretty impressive, running the politicians through here and just artists through here and everything that you're doing, and really get a good vibe of what's going on in Jacksonville. But that's what I want everybody to do. Have a good time when they come in here, but also give a great product and something that can go worldwide, which yours is, right? That's one thing about these podcasts when you do it. And we're not governed by the FCC like I was in broadcast radio. We're limited in broadcast radio, which I still love the business. But here you have more of a free form, what you can say, how you can say it. If you want to cuss, you can cuss, really. And nobody's going to cut it out. We can cut it out, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, having Doug Dixon.
Doug's come back on.
Oh, yeah, right.
Pretty good. Just got to
The
put the
F-bomb
explicit.
drops every couple minutes.
Oh, yeah. You got to put the explicit rating on the...
And Stu. And Stu.
Oh, Stu, too. Yeah. I didn't realize you had to do that. But, yeah, it's a learn. There's definitely a learning curve, but you're right. It felt raw, and I think we were almost too stiff to begin with, and you realize you get better at interviewing and you have more of a conversation over time, and podcasting is different than say a TV show. So there's obviously differences, but you've been a fantastic guide. I don't know what else we could have. I don't know where we would be if we didn't have you in this studio.
Well, I appreciate it. Another thing too, it's funny. This thing is microphone that's sitting in front of us. I was on the radio, but that was such a long time ago. But the first thing I tell people, just ignore this thing that's in front of you. Other than make sure, we want a good sound, so you got to stay close to it. But the bottom line, just ignore this thing. Just have a conversation. That's all we're doing today,
Yeah.
But hey, look, I got to, give my radio career, and I'm still involved in broadcast radio. I have a radio network as well. But the interesting thing about this is that, everything stems from that industry. And, getting back just one little point is talking about the sound. What you're hearing right now is important. The difference between a number one radio station and a number two radio station, let's say you have two stations with the exact same music format. Let's say top 40, I'll use that as an example. What makes one number one and one number two? And the subtleties could be so different, but it comes right down to sound. And when I was running adult contemporary radio stations, I learned this more than from anybody. A really great sound engineer. He said, there's the the way they listen, and it's female-based adult contemporary station. So they're like, maybe 60-40 male, female, male. Well, the women listen a little bit different, and their tympanic ear is different. So you have to tune your transmitter, the thing that you're listening to through your radio, differently. And those little tweaks will make a difference in the sound of a radio station. When I was running the stations here in Jacksonville, the Renda Group, I bought one of the top premier sound engineers in the United States and to tune my transmitters for my country audience and for my adult contemporary audience. I brought them down for 4 days, and these guys don't run cheap. And they're up there making little tweaks to the transmitter sound to get that perfect sound for the listener based on all the equipment that you have running your product. And it's the same thing here. We've got great processing, we've got great sound, but that's going to be the difference to somebody listening longer to your podcast or tuning away and, saying, oh my gosh, I can't stand that anymore. I hear the kids screaming in the background. I hear the dogs barking. The sirens are going off. All this is part of this experience. You just don't want to be distracted. Look, we have a great conversation. You want to hear the conversation. And today we expect that level of sound. When you put in your iPod or your iPhone or whatever, and you're listening to music from whatever source, and it doesn't sound good, it's crackly, it's going to go. You're going to turn it away. Yeah. Now, I like to listen to a good album now and again on a turntable. That's coming back. That's old school. It's coming back. But that's how I started in radio, spinning records.
Everybody's nostalgic about vinyl now.
Yeah, everything old is new again. But that's sort of this journey, and I've been blessed. Like I said, I've been truly blessed to have amazing podcasters come in here and people, just great people I've met here.
Yeah, we started with the headphones, and now we don't even use those.
No, I have. It's funny doing this podcast. I always have to have headphones on. It's just my nature. But it's funny and not doing it.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's just who I was an announcer, so I've got to feel like I got to have a set of headsets. But that's why I'm half deaf in one ear, because I ran them too loud when I was a kid.
Yeah. I'm sure from gunfire and headphones in my ears playing music way too loud.
Well, rock and roll.
Yeah, all kinds of music, but yeah, specifically that, rap, whatever, country. I turn everything up. There's a lot to learn, and anybody wants to get in this industry, this is the guy to talk to. He's obviously giving good advice, and we continue to try to fine tune and hone our skills and hone how we present the product, and we still have a long way to go, I think, in my opinion.
Well,
just learning.
Well, you guys, one thing about you, Larry, one thing I've always noticed every time I watch it, you're just like who you are. That's what I try to. You got to be yourself, right? And you're like chewing gum. You're having. That's what it's. If that's who you are, that's who you are. And I think that's what I tell people they have to do. So you don't have to put on a persona of doing a podcast. Some people think, I'm going to stiffen up. Don't worry about it.
They stiffen up and try to become something else.
I forgot my makeup before we started, though, guys.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it won't help.
No, it's okay. Especially glare off my head. I was a little worried about that.
If there's makeup, it still won't help me, I don't think.
I don't know.
We need a makeup person. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, I've actually, like you guys do once in a while, I have a lot of people do costume changes in between shows, too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you're doing more than one episode, you're like, 4 shirts. How many times I got to go to wear that shirt? For a month in a row, he's been wearing that shirt. Didn't realize this one day.
Well, people, it's funny, behind the scenes, all these little things that go on, you watch like Jeopardy, all those shows are shot 1 week in one day. People don't know that, so they're changing outfits. But again, hey, look come in, have fun, whatever I can help anybody out with this journey I call. And, I just want to help people through the podcasting because it is so doggone confusing. Just call me up and we can have a conversation, even I help them out. I do it all the time, probably 5-6 times a week. Somebody calls me up, and and now I'm getting invited to maybe some of these. Somebody from the ad club, I guess, reached out to me and they maybe want me to speak at the ad club. UNF, I'm on the marketing board down there, and I have not been as active due to the COVID. Now we're through all this, but I want to get more active. But there's some people asking me to come down and maybe have some conversation with some students about. They're really excited about podcasting. I'm thinking about doing some seminars for people, one maybe 3-4 hour seminar to take them through the whole process and then bring them in here at the end, some things to really help educate them about the process. But technology is changing every day. There's so much new. I have to keep up on it. Like, what is the latest? Lady came in the other day and said, look at what video capabilities. Do you have a whole switcher? I don't have this whole switcher. I got to learn now. I got to learn some new products.
Oh my gosh.
Or get my video guy to come in.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to get any more difficult. Well, we'd have to do it anyway.
They want B-roll while they're talking. They want some background videos while we're talking. They want to do that. Added overlays. It's all these things. So video, it's like video is getting crazy. I love audio, but the video is getting crazy.
Yeah. Well, that little camera right there we got in here does an amazing job. Our YouTubes are great. And I think our toughest thing is sometimes managing guests.
That's our part.
Sometimes they confirm. We've had a few that have confirmed a few times and then don't show, or have to move it or whatever. I know last minute stuff happens. That's kind of tough.
Well, you're becoming, especially in Jacksonville, I'd use the word celebrity, but you're kind of mini celebrities. I was just telling you before we started today that, and Zach, you were just getting ready to walk in. I show your guys' video to almost everybody that comes in here, and some of your audio and your intros and all that. I do take a random selection, but when I show yours, I can tell you it's more than 50% of the, and it's more than that. Say, I've heard their podcast. Oh, I've seen those guys before. Oh, I know who that guy is. They really don't know who, but they think they know you guys.
Yeah.
You and they always say, the guys, I've seen this podcast before, and that Crawfish guy's the guy that's quiet in the corner.
Yeah. He's talked more now in the last 3 or 4 episodes.
There you go.
I tried to get him to talk. I remember a couple episodes. Anything to add, Crawfish?
Nope. I'm good.
Nope. I'm good. 3 words.
I don't know. He brought one up the last podcast.
That one came out today.
Where'd that one come from?
Yeah, I helped him. I helped write the script for those questions.
Yeah.
And lesson to be learned. You got to watch the quiet ones.
You do,
man.
You do.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys have been great. I appreciate you've been great customers, but beyond that, we developed a relationship too. So that's what's fun about this.
I have a good time when you come in, or you got a guest and you'll have listened or something, and I'll see your face come around the corner, and you're like, whoa, that was a good one.
If you haven't listened to their podcasts, go back and listen to some of the old ones because they have some hard hitting stuff, and you ask the hard questions too. You're not afraid to ask the hard questions. No. The politics that we have in any community, but you you've gone beyond the politics,
that's what I wanted to do. I mean, everybody wanted me to hit. Actually, there's a lot of people want me to hit a lot harder. I'm a little hesitant to do it, and be disrespectful, but
I'm one of those people.
Yeah. And there's a few others. I mean, quite a bit actually that they want me to hit some city politics a lot harder. I don't mind doing that, but I've actually enjoyed probably some of the human interest stories we've done and the music stuff. If you go back and watch
Lieutenant Commander you had in there.
Yeah.
Stu.
Yeah,
man.
He was on Fox News and
powerful.
My cousin, that whole that was a great story. The whole story of forgiveness, spending all that time in prison, but we want to diversify, and I've already talked to him. I want to get into. There's a lot of local talent that I don't think a lot of people know about. Comedians, music. I'd like to get a lot more into that, and people that have. I like Lakeisha Burton. If you hear her story from start to finish, it's amazing. You heard it on Bill's show, right?
Yeah, we had her in, and I run his board, and I'm sort of the color commentator for the show. Right. But we've had her in twice, and I am just captivated by her background, her story, where she came from, how she started this whole journey she has, and
The stumbling block she faced and how she overcame all that.
Yeah, not only being a female, but being an African-American female. But not only that, what she's doing and how she's breaking down barriers in the police force here in Jacksonville right now.
Politics.
And that's where I was going to go. Meaning she's crossing the lines, which you don't really see that to me.
Not today.
No.
It's very polarized today.
Yeah, if you say you're a Republican, okay, you know you're here. If you're a Democrat, you're over here. She brings her folks in with her, and they're just right down. There's both groups in here all the time. It's awesome. It really is to see what she's done. But that's kind of the things that you learn about Jacksonville, and especially when you're dealing with politics like you are, getting to know the people, having that real conversation. Yeah, like I said, you threw a zinger out there a couple of weeks ago, Zach, and I watched that episode, and I was like, interesting.
He was mad.
He
did not like that one.
He did not. Well,
did not like that one.
If you're going to run in politics, you got to know that stuff's going to come up, and he should have known that was going to come up. I
guarantee I'm not the first person who's asked that question.
No, but that's the thing is it came up in the election before that he had those tax issues, but then to have it show up on March 22nd of this year that there's still a lien or a new filing of a lien, it's going to come up.
Well, I think if you're running for political office, you have an obligation to look at, if you have some skeletons in your closet, and trust me, everybody has something, just get them out there and have a conversation, but you better be able to answer those questions succinctly, be right up front with it, and just, hey, look, this happened, let's have an answer, but have an answer for it. But you know what, if you're
upset.
Yeah, you can't get upset over
the personal stuff. Everybody deals with personal stuff, but financial stuff, if that comes up and you're running for office and you're going to handle tax dollars, you got to be able to explain that one to me.
Especially when he just bragged about his huge budget that he had.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Well, and on the flip side, you have Katie Owen here, and you have a couple. The singer that was a great. She was on American Idol, so you've got a really you have a fun podcast because you guys go up. You cover the game.
You never know who's going to be on the show.
No.
Look, you're having me on the show. There you go.
Yeah, well, you're the catalyst. I mean, you're like the Godfather in here. You're the one that started it. So. Any advice for us just going forward and how changes we make?
No, I got to tell you, I think it's an evolution, or you evolve through this. And I guess what you said earlier today too, that your biggest challenge is guests. Having a guest. It's managing this thing. People. This is not easy. I tell people, that's first the honeymoon. Everybody has the honeymoon. Those first 4 to 6 weeks, they're all excited about it, and to keep that excitement, to get good guests, to keep those guests here. To keep them on. But you're dealing with people's time and things happen. People cancel. But, that's the hardest part about this thing, I think, is when you're doing an interview-based, is making sure you get those interviews. And if you can get those people in the studio, that's the biggest challenge sometimes. But I don't know. No advice. You guys have done a great job. Look, you're like my poster child for how to do a podcast.
I don't know about that. I don't know if you choose me and Jim as poster children for anything, Gary. I don't know. Probably not your best choice.
I don't
know. But we have fun. I like doing it. You get frustrated with different things sometimes, but when I get in here and get on the mic and we start talking, I have a good time.
Yeah. It's funny. I just had this conversation with a good friend in the broadcast industry, and as many years as I've been truly lucky to meet so many artists in my time. I mean, there's probably not a country artist that I can think of that I haven't met. And I've been invited on their buses. I've met them, and they're the salt of the earth people. Just trust me. I mean, there hasn't been a bad one in the bunch. Some are, they're busy and to meet somebody, but just the people that I've met. But it's interesting. I just told the story of the people that I've met in my studio here. I think it even beats meeting all these interesting people, all these artists, because these are real people that are coming in in the studios, and you're just hearing their stories, and they're from all walks of life, and that's what I really enjoy. From finance people to real estate people to guys like yourself, ex-police officers to corporate executives to guys doing hip hop shows. I have such a diverse group. It's just some realtors, everybody, but I've met some really interesting people, and I thought characters too. A lot of characters come in here. A lot. It's fun. I wish I had B-roll forever. I wish I could have B-roll. Oh, that would be hilarious. I got to start doing something. We either get a picture, we do something.
Or something.
Yeah, or I'll just ask them a question. I can edit it all together. But yeah, there's some really great people here in Jacksonville. It really are. Yeah. Really great people here. So, but hey, look, best of luck on the podcast too. You guys have done a great job, and I know it's going to continue to grow.
Well, we just broke through a couple of barriers on podcasting. So, with YouTube and all that kind of stuff. So that's a start. That's a start. Of course, you'd want it to blow up and be Joe Rogan in 2 weeks, but it's not. You just got to plan for that. Expect that. So
Joe Rogan's been doing it for about how many years? 30 years, something like that. What did he start? Was it Fear Factor, right? Everybody remembers him from Fear Factor. That's the first show, and that was back 90s. Was it 90s?
Yeah, I think.
I was it 80s. I don't even remember. When was the Fear Factor on? It's going to be a great. Here they go. Zach's going to do his
that's
computer.
what he does while we're. Hey, we'll be talking and he'll pull something up there.
When's Fear Factor? I don't even know when it began. Maybe it was
2001.
Yeah, okay, so it was late. So I'm sorry. It was
Still.
Oh, yeah.
21 years ago.
But he actually had a career before that, Joe, and then, of course,
stand-up comedian.
Yeah, stand-up comedian. So the journey, people want to be Joe Rogan. Can you be? Well, you could be, but you better realize he had a journey, too. He just didn't walk in a podcast studio, open up a microphone, and became a star.
I didn't want to do everything. Like I said, if Joe Rogan and Rush Limbaugh had a baby, I'd hope it to be this podcast. So I know Rush Limbaugh was still, to me, it was still his show and everything. It was pretty close to podcasting before podcasting was really around. So yeah, I kind of liked a lot of that stuff.
Yeah,
Plus, I'm a music guy, and I want to get into having some comedians on. We had a satire guy that was going to zoom in, but
the political
satirist, satirist, and it kind of fell through once, and
never heard back from him.
Yeah, never heard back from him. So
yeah.
Well, I appreciate you having me on the podcast. It really has been we've been doing this, like I said, almost a year now. So it's great to have me on. And if I can help you or anybody else, I mean, I've helped you guys out, but if there's anything I can help anybody with a podcast, please just tell them to give me a call. That's all I need to do.
I will. And, I'll send my friends to continue to do that. And maybe if you guys hear that out here and you got an interest or a specific kind of subject matter or something you want to do, Gary's the guy. Good show. We appreciate you being on. I should have done this one like the first one.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. And again, they can reach me at studiopodcastsuites.com or call my cell phone or at 544-2110, 904 exchange, 904-544-2110.
Outstanding. And you're on Facebook and all that?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook account. I have a LinkedIn account, and I have an Instagram account.
Okay. Under Studio Podcast Suites?
Under Studio Podcast Suites.
There you go.
There you
Outstanding.
There we go.
That's Gary Spurgeon today. I don't know what episode this is. I don't even keep up. Gary.
44.
Episode 44.
Look at that.
Of the Studio Podcast.
Oh, my age. No, not really.
Yeah, I wish. I wish my back. I'm getting ready to call the doctor between guests, I think, about my back. But, yeah, we have a good time, and I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate everything you've done to build us to the point where we are, because we wouldn't have a clue. We'd probably be on second episode on a laptop somewhere. But
sitting in your garage
or something. Yeah, it'd be terrible.
It's been my pleasure, and thank you again, too.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
And that's it for RealJax, Jim, Larry, and Crawfish. Obviously, Jim's not here, but he'll be back soon, probably in the next month. And everybody have a good day. Thanks.